Hi there, I'm Vincent Boss and I provide dating and self-improvement advice. And in today's podcast, we're going to be discussing lessons you need to learn after being dumped. I provide audio coaching for breakup recovery, trying to get an ex back, attracting someone new, and life coaching. Visit www.dateme.tips for more details. Please check your spam and junk folders if you are expecting an email from me. So now let's get back into today's podcast, and today we are discussing lessons you need to learn after being dumped. So if you have been dumped and want to try to get your ex back, there are lessons which need to be learned. In today's podcast, I'll be discussing 3 lessons that a dumpee needs to learn after their breakup. So let's get straight into this, and point number 1 is we can all be better people. I can be a better person, your ex-dumper can be a better person, and you as a dumpee can be a better person. None of us are the finished article, and if we ever think we are, that is when we are selling ourselves short. We are never going to achieve our goals, our dreams, and our ultimate happiness if we don't keep pushing forward. And this is one of the things that needs to be understood and a lesson which needs to be learned after the breakup. Because however you solve a breakup, however you solve a situation between you and your now ex, however you look back on the relationship, you need to understand that we can all be better people. Now maybe you're in the position where you're blaming yourself for everything. You know, some dumpees will blame themselves not just for the things that they need to take accountability for, but for things that they don't deserve to be punishing themselves for. Now, other dumpees will not take any responsibility whatsoever, and they fully focus on their ex-dumper as doing them wrong, doing the dirty, doing something that they should never have done. Now, whichever position you find yourself in, I would say we need to find balance, because like I say, we can all be better people. Now, it's so important you take accountability. You know, the facts are that somebody doesn't end a relationship if they're feeling happy, fulfilled, and with a high level of romantic emotional attraction. If somebody ends a relationship, you can assume that for some reason, even if you don't understand what, that their level of attraction has dropped. Somebody won't end a relationship for no reason. So even if you think it was perfect, something wasn't. The person that they dumped, the person that you are right now, unfortunately for you, the dumpee, the position that your ex-dumper sees you in is not a good fit for them. They do not feel that you right now are a good fit for them moving forward in a long-term loving relationship. So what we can see here is that you could certainly move forward in a way where you improve yourself, take accountability for certain situations and elements of yourself, and improve to the point of where you could be somebody that they deem to be a good fit. However, this isn't necessarily the right thing for you to be doing. Yes, you need to be pushing forward. Yes, you need to be growing, but you need to be doing it for you. You know, just because they don't see you as a good fit, it doesn't mean that the person you would need to become is a good fit in your mind. You can only act for so long. You know, you need to be your true self. Now, if you grow and develop as a person which becomes a good fit for your ex, then that's absolutely fine. But if you're doing it in a way where you're acting, this is not going to fulfill you. You know, you're not going to feel satisfied in the future, and maybe you become the dumper. So ultimately, when we look at point number 1, and a lesson which is so important to learn, is that we can all be better people. Yes, you can improve. Not just trying to reconnect with your ex, but just as a person, you can improve. You know, you don't want to be somebody who's complacent. I mean, maybe complacency is why you were dumped. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But whatever the situation was back then, right now you can't be complacent. You need to push forward, you need to grow, but it needs to be for you. But we also need to recognise that your ex-dumper can also be a better person. Yes, by end of a relationship. Yes, within the realms of a relationship and a breakup, they have the power, quote unquote, but it doesn't mean they're a perfect person. There's lots of things about them which isn't great. I'm absolutely convinced of that. even if you feel that you're idolizing them right now, it is because they dumped you. And there is nothing more attractive than rejection. It's not reality. The reality is they are not a god. They are not a goddess. They're a human being. They have flaws. They also need to improve. They also need to grow. You know, it's interesting how many times dumpers reach out to dumpees many months into the future, and the dumpee actually decides they don't want to proceed in reconnecting. Now, you might listen to this and think that's ridiculous. You know, I want my ex back so badly I'd take them back in a heartbeat. But let's wind time on 6 to 9 months and see how you feel then. The likelihood is you would have grown. And if your ex-dumper hasn't grown, then when they reach out to you, you might feel that they're no longer a good fit. You might feel the vibe and think, you know what, you don't really fit into my life anymore. Things change in mysterious ways. But it's important to remember and take that lesson on board. We can all be better people. Yes, take accountability for mistakes and errors you may have made. Yes, make those changes. Also improve and grow for you, not necessarily for your ex, and see where that takes you. See if it realigns you or not. But also recognise that your ex-dumper isn't perfect. And if they also don't grow, if they don't improve, then maybe in the future you actually wouldn't want to reconnect. So now let's get into point number 2 and the second point of today's podcast. Please like this video if you're watching on YouTube and subscribe to the channel. And point number 2 is the myth of the one. So when I say the myth of the one, what we're focusing on here is the concept where people say, they were the one for me. You know, they're my perfect person. We're soulmates. All of these thoughts and feelings, although they can feel incredibly strong, what I would suggest are not necessarily accurate. I believe that as we grow as people, as we develop, as we get older, there can be many ones within our life. And maybe there are many ones right now for you, scattered across the world, most of which you perhaps won't cross paths with. What I'm getting at here is you need to recognise that if you don't get your ex back, you will be able to find somebody even better. And the reason I suggest you can find somebody even better is if you listen to the advice in point number 1, and as if you grow as a person, then you will automatically be growing your attraction net. I like to use the analogy, if you imagine that you have a net that we call your attraction net, when you cast that off into sea, back in the day, that is when you found your ex. You caught your ex, you could say, within this analogy. Now, when you did this, there would have been certain people out of reach of your net. Your net was only a certain size. You were version 1 of yourself. That net, in comparable terms, was small. So you cast it off into the sea and you caught your ex. That's great. But there are many people beyond your ex that you were unable to attract. Your attraction net was not large enough. You were version 1 of yourself. Like I keep saying, you can improve, you can grow. Now, if you continue to move forward with your life in a positive way, grow as a person, improve every single day, become a better person today than you were yesterday, and a better person tomorrow than you are currently today, then what we will see is in the future, when you cast your net off into sea, we will find out that you can go further, okay? Your net is larger now, and there will be people that previously would not have been attracted to you that now are. So my theory is that if you improve every day, if you grow as a person, if you make sure that every element of your being is better now than it was a few months ago, let alone a few years ago, then when you go back into the dating world, you can attract and find somebody even better than your ex, because your attraction net is version 2.0. When you're version 2.0, your attraction net is larger. You cast it off, you can find people further afield that you couldn't when you first attracted your ex. And that is why I speak of the myth of the one. Because you might believe that your ex was the only one for you. But I believe they was the only one for you at that time. At that time, you and your ex were perfect for one another. Right now, you're split up. Who knows, maybe in the future you'll get back together. But if you don't be scared. because you can find somebody even better. Grow as a person, improve every day, believe in yourself, and recognize that you have more ones out there than your ex. Now, if you would like advice and support on how to try and increase the chance of getting your ex back, or maybe you want help in building your own personal brand and understanding how you can be a better person today than you were yesterday and find somebody even better than your ex, then you may want to consider my audio coaching service, where me and you can speak one-on-one about your unique specific situation. Go to my website www.dateme.tips for more information about how I could become your coach and your teammate via my audio coaching service. So now let's get into point number 3 and the final point of today's podcast about lessons you need to learn after being dumped. And point number 3 is you will be okay. This is the biggest and most important lesson to learn after being dumped. Because right now, you are likely feeling incredibly low. You're likely feeling lost. You're likely feeling that everything I've been saying up to this point might work for other people, but won't work for you. You feel alone within your thoughts. I'm here to tell you, you will be okay. I promise you, you will be okay. You will get through that other side. You will make it to the promised land of happiness again, with or without your ex. I can't guarantee you'll get your ex back, but I can guarantee you'll find that happiness if you keep moving forward. You feel like you are currently standing in a dark, bleak, scary tunnel. Now you need to move forward from there. If you stand still with your hands over your eyes, you will not get through this tunnel. You will remain in this pain, in this anguish, in this darkness. You have to push forward. It's going to be difficult. There's going to be bumps in the road, but you will get through this. You will be okay. Now, please speak to your friends and family. Speak to a local doctor if you feel you need support. Remember that these feelings are temporary. The sun will always rise after darkness. Don't be scared. Don't be fearful. Don't believe that how you feel right now is forevermore. Look back and remember at happier times. You had some wonderful moments, and you can have wonderful moments again. Maybe your ex will be within those moments. Maybe they won't, but they will exist. I'm sure you can look back, perhaps to your childhood, maybe as an adult as well, where you can think of great, wonderful, exciting, amazing times before you met your ex. This was before your ex. Before you even knew your ex, you had amazing times, okay? So now, yes, you and your ex are no longer together, but you can have wonderful, exciting, great times after this point. Maybe your ex will be in it. I like to use the analogy of the life story. You and your ex will always be part of each other's life story. They will be part of yours. You will be part of theirs. You will never forget one another. But right now, your ex is not in your latest chapter. They're not part of this particular moment in your life story. But they might be in the future. At the beginning of your life story, your ex probably wasn't in it. You wouldn't have known them, I'm sure, when you were very, very young. But in some of the latter chapters, your ex has had a huge prominent role, maybe being the main character within your life story for many months, if not years. Many chapters dedicated to them. Now we're in a chapter where they're not in it, and it might seem scary, but we don't know what the future holds. We never know when the story ends, and there could be chapters later on where your ex once again has a huge starring role. And this is why it's an important lesson to learn after being dumped, that you will be okay. Because with or without your ex, you will have a positive future. Happiness will be yours again. Right now, you might not feel great, but tomorrow is another day. The sun will always rise after darkness. Believe in yourself. Remember, you will get there. And if you live your life in the right way, you actually increase the chance of getting your ex back in comparison to sitting at home, head in hands, feeling sorry for yourself every day. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be feeling upset. It's important to release that emotion. And like I said, speak to your friends, speak to your family, speak to a doctor if necessary. Maybe my audio coaching service is something you would like to do to speak with me one-on-one. But ultimately, you will move from this point. The clock is always ticking. Today will evolve into tomorrow. And if you're feeling sorry for yourself now, you will get to a point of where you recognize that there are things that you can do. Maybe you can't get your ex back in the way that you're hoping. You're hoping you can just text them and say, come back to me. Maybe that's not the way. I wouldn't suggest that is a likely way to reconnect. But there are things you can be doing. And it comes to the stage where you need to be standing up and moving forward. So release the emotion, seek support, but you can't stand still forever. If you live your life in the right way, not only do you become more attractive to your ex, but as I said earlier, you'll become more attractive to other, potentially better people. If you believe that this podcast has helped you, then please consider buying me a coffee. The link to do so is in the description.